a very special treat for y'all tonight. So here's the thing. I did a PowerPoint in June when we had our Pride show. I did a PowerPoint where I explained gender identity using sandwiches. And there was a very, very nice woman who kept coming back to every single Strip Joker show, and I kept working the door, and every single time she asked me if I was doing another PowerPoint. Is that woman here tonight, by the way? Oh, she's gonna be pissed. Okay. So, all right. Well, I wanted to write a new PowerPoint from last month when she told me she's been coming back, and now I did it just for her. Thanks. But here's the thing. I'm going to show you something tonight because actually when I was talking to Ash, one thing that she did tell me is that Trans Lifeline also happens to have a ton of data on trans people because they're one of the biggest repositories of it. They get the most trans callers. They're able to talk to people. So it's because of that I started thinking about data. And that gave me a big idea that I spent the last month working on. So at this point, just turn around that you can see a screen clearly. We're going to unlock our full potential with data tonight with me, Britt Meyer. Now, first of all, data, who wants it? Facebook wants it. Russia wants it. Your exes want it. Data is the most valuable thing in this world today. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably like, well, I know I have data somewhere. Someone keeps taking it. So how do I even find this stuff? Where do I get it? I recommend mining it yourself, okay? Yes, just like me. I am a self-made and proclaimed data millionaire. And I am going to show you all this beautiful data seminar tonight, so that way you can get your own data. So here's what I did. Oh, first of all, what even is data? You're probably asking yourself. Well, data, it is aggregate information that is yet to be analyzed into traceable statistics, which is hot, okay? We all want it. Now, I do recommend that what you can do is answer your own questions with data, which is what I did. I did it with Tinder. I went into my own Tinder data bank, and I was able to mine all sorts of information. This is what we're going to call data. Now, since Tinder only has a name search option, it did limit a little bit of the data that I was able to find. But don't worry, you'll see what I was able to do. I did a lot of cool things with it. So let me first give you the numbers. Now, the sample size that I've been working with was pretty big. I have 1,700 matches on Tinder, which, it is not just a sad brag. It is a sad gold mine. That's what that. I don't know if it is a compliment if it almost hits me in the face. So let's neck below. Let's do that. All right, so let me give you the quick numbers on what I was working with here. So I've been on and off Tinder for roughly 4 years. I've given my number to 112 people, 1,700 current matches. I am openly genderqueer in there. However, I get a lot of cis men who are confused. And I have been on Match for telling people I'm a Scorpio. That is true. Now at this point, with such a big data pool, you may be nervous because, hey, maybe we have matched on Tinder. And if that is the case, don't worry because it is totally anonymous. I had little sensor bars over everybody's eyes, so it's all going to be fine. But hey, if you do see someone you know, take a drink, okay? All right, so let's get down to data. First, we need a prompt. We need something, a question to ask ourselves, so that way we can start to analyze data around it. So the first question that I had was using just the numbers. I was curious, what are the most popular baby names between 1990 and 1978? And when I ran those numbers, I was able to find that there were 36 Matthews in my matches, 28 Michaels, and surprising, just 10 Justins. Pretty cool. Now, I did realize that some of the numbers were skewed because I do have less feminine matches. So I did go through that as well. Here are these numbers. Very into 7 Sarahs. They really love me. And yet only 2 Jennifers. Kind of weird. All right. So now after this, I wanted to get the hottest baby name. So I went through all of the top matches, and then I was able to deduce from there the hottest people of those names. So let's give it up for Jennifers. All of them are about 8 to 9. All right, so raw data. So now I'm taking all of these great aggregate pieces of data, and now I'm trying to turn it into something. So I had to ask another question. And I took the phrase, just joshing with you. Now, this implies that people named Josh tend to joke with you, like that they're kind of funny, which led me to ask the question, are Joshes funny? So I went through all of my data. And out of the 19 Josh profiles I found, only 8 of them had funny profile photos. 6 of them had funny profiles, and 0 of them have sent me a funny opener. So it is fair to say that conclusively, no, Josh are not funny. Oh, that's
there we go.
Close. Perfect. Okay. Next up, I read this great article, 50 rugged and edgy baby boy names with real swagger. In this, it implied that there were better names if you wanted a rugged and edgy boy. So I went through and I found the #1 name was Jax. So I went into my Tinder data bank and I did find just one Jax, and it was this guy. Who I have to say, he was a bad boy, but he was not that edgy. So I went back to the article and I saw the second name was Chase. Ooh, Chase, yeah. So I went back to my data bank and I did find one Chase. This guy. Yeah. And I will say, looking at him, I was like, yeah, he is a bad boy. Yeah, he is edgy. But this has raised a whole new question for me now. Is someone named Chase destined to be a bad boy and bully? So I decided to message Chase to begin to answer this question. So I messaged him. Spencer, can you actually read this aloud? I don't think I can.
Yeah, it says, hey Chase, let's cut to small talk. You have any big regrets? And then you said, like, maybe you were really mean to someone in middle or high school? Really needing an answer here, pal.
And then finally, when he did not respond after 5 days, I sent him this.
One might say you're currently bullying me with your lack of communication.
So when it comes down to it, nature or nurture, yes, all Chases are bullies. Okay, so now this is a whole new data experiment, because now I actually want it to be applicable. I want to do something with this data. So what is the best way for me to secure a date? I need to figure this out. So I decided to conduct an experiment using my Sarahs. I have 7 Sarahs in my test group. So what I decided to do was to send them different lines. We're going to try the experiment. Can you catch more Sarahs with honey or vinegar? So out of these 7 Sarahs, I sent them all an opener. If I was going with honey, I would send them, you're the prettiest Sarah I've seen on here. And if I was going with vinegar, I would say, you're the second prettiest Sarah I've seen on here. So I messaged all 7 Sarahs, and I did get very immediate results that vinegar did not work. However, with honey, this Sarah ended up responding, and Spencer, do you have a mic or no? I can share.
No.
Are you good?
I'm just loud.
Okay. All right. This Sarah did end up responding to me.
That is the nicest compliment I've ever received on Tinder.
So when it comes to this data experiment, yes, it is true. You can catch more Sarahs with honey than vinegar. Data success. Now, once you succeed in an experiment, now it's worth expanding on it. So now that I have been able to prove that sending a good personalized opening message has been able to increase my response rates, you can read this one out loud. So I messaged another Sarah, and I said,
"Que sera, Sarah?"
Which was pretty good. And then she responded
with, "Hola, how are you?"
And she loved that message. Okay. So then I decided that if I were to work with a bigger group, if I sent a personalized message, will that increase response rate? Yes, that is true. So what if I made the pool bigger? More messages equals more opportunity for responses. More responses equals greater chances at connection. So a whole new experiment. Can I find love by simply batch messaging people with the same name, a good opener? So I went through my matches, and again, my top matches were Matthew, Andrew, Michael, which combined equals 95 individual messages I can send while only writing 3 unique lines. Before I go any further, there's a moment. Where we just got to check in real quick. This is a very important part of all science. So real quick, there's a pros and cons list I quickly whipped together just to make sure that this was going to be totally ethical and cool. So pros, this saves me time. It speeds up the messaging process, less energy spent. Cons, absolutely none. Let's do this. Okay. So I messaged every Matthew, Michael, and Andrew. I did it. I sent them all messages. And here's the opening line I sent to each one of them. For every Matthew, I sent, Matthew 538 says, eye for an eye makes the whole, or eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But what if you just bought me a drink and we can see where that goes? Then I messaged Michael, and all I wrote was, in Joe Blue's voice, Michael. And then finally, for Andrews, I sent, let me guess, you're Andy in the streets and a Drew in the sheets. And you can see I did message all of them in the column on the right. So now we wait. Now we wait for all the responses to come rolling in. And honestly, they were. I was getting so many responses back. And at this point, I had to stay on Tinder, and I was just swiping for the fun of it. And then something happened that I could not have anticipated, but it changed the entire course of the experiment, which is when this man swiped right on me. All right, so this man swiped right on me, and I inspected his profile. And let me denote, if you put your first and last name on there, you pay extra to do that. He is allegedly a senior executive at Fortune 10 company. And all of his photos were either Jonah Hill and then him next to it, alternating, so that way you can decide for yourself if he actually looks that much like Jonah Hill. Every single one of them. Now, before I go further, I'm actually going to show you his full profile, and I'm going to have Spencer read this out loud.
Oh, no.
All right, here we go.
All right. Since I look just like Jonah Hill, you will have to determine if the pics are him or me, laughing face. My true name is blank. I recently moved to downtown Chicago and live in a luxury condo a few blocks from the Sears Tower. Sorry, I'm editorializing. I'm sorry. Looking for someone to explore downtown Chicago's amazing restaurants and rooftops and enjoy the finer life with me, champagne emoji. Also, we will have to watch tons of Jonah Hill movies together at my place. Or chill in my pool. Long Island iced tea emoji. Brownie points if you're an animal lover, especially cats. Cat with hard eyes.
No! 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 Do not feel bad for this man. And I will tell you why. First of all, this man is an alleged senior executive at Fortune 10 company, and he also flexes his social and monetary capital to try to leverage dates, which, I didn't show you this. This is the only photo that's not him or Jonah Hill. It is the alleged pool from his luxury condo that overlooks the Sears Tower. Yes. And yes, oh, did he say that 3 times in his profile? He did. So at this point, this man messages me. So actually, I'll read for him. Spencer, you can read for me.
Perfect.
All right. He says, you have a beautiful smile, and I like your helmet.
And you respond with, TY, thank you. Blank. Curious, do you think looking like Jonah Hill is helping you?
responds, haha, probably not, but I can't change that. Luckily, I make up for it in other areas. To which, again, do not feel bad for this man. Again. To which I respond,
Then why is it your name, half your photos, and only defining trait on here?
to which he says, just figured it would be a funny joke and a way to meet cute art directors named Brittany. So maybe you're thinking at this point, well, he does look kind of like Jonah Hill. What's your problem, Britt? Okay. Well, here's my problem, is that there are so many better ways that he could have done this instead of making his entire personality and profile Jonah Hill. For example, he could have summed this all up in just one funny little line on his profile. He could have just said, yeah, I know, I look like Jonah Hill. Or he could have said, if you have a crush on Jonah Hill, we'll get along just fine. Or best of all, he could have said, Jonah Hill, fuck toy for hire. No! He did none of these things. He did not. And then, oh, this is where it gets better. And then with no indication that this conversation is actually going well, where I did not respond to anything that he has said at this point, he then proceeds to ask me 12 hours later, want to meet up for drinks or something this week? So this whole experiment has now led to a brand new revelation that I did not ask previously. This is a whole new question that I had to conduct. Can a single interaction with a man make you gayer? And the answer is yes. Yes. It can. It can. Yes, my previous experiment completely moot. None of this matters. None of this. However, this data has now managed to save me hundreds upon thousands of hours of time and energy. So in conclusion to my data, my findings, use data to your advantage, date gay. All right.